Sup, bitch. So, this time I'm not going to talk about another hero I designed for Celestials, but this time it's about how to improve your character designs even more. So, I brought up Inferno as an example, and to really summarize it really quickly, basically another way to improve your character design, which is really important, is to give them a specialty when it comes to attacking that only their enemies can compete in as well, and it is at least a little bit different um, from their friends. Okay, and so let's begin. So you can see here in Inferno, I brought him up as an example because Inferno has a lot of attacks. Like I mentioned in this video where I covered his story, Inferno is a really old character. He's like nearly 2000 years old, almost, I'm pretty sure. And he has mastered basically his fire abilities and his sword techniques. But the thing is, if you can't really summarize a character's direction when it comes to attacking, it's usually a bad character. But I might be able to say something more about this in the future. But it's pretty simple premise for now. So, what is Inferno's specialty? For example, Inferno's specialty is being a fast hack and slash swordsman. So he's basically like the fastest and the best swordsman in like the whole country in Celestials. So that would be Belgium then, because Celestials takes place in like rural Belgium, in like a different year, pretty much. And so Inferno can do a lot more than just attacking with a sword, but his main specialty is a sword. Oh yeah, also, real quick, go to the link in the description to support me on Patreon. So imagine like if you're a pianist, right? No, if you're a musician and your favorite instrument is the piano. You have a natural talent for it. You like it. You're really good at it. It's the best instrument that you can play, but you can also play other instruments like guitar, for example, and then you can play another instrument like trombone and maybe like the xylophone, right? So you can do all these things, but usually it's best to limit it to mostly two things that you use most of the times. So this is like for attacks for your superhero characters. And then you're gonna really want to put emphasis on their one like main specialty. Then you're gonna want like a main secondary attack, and then sometimes like depending on the character, like this one has a lot of other things he can do because he's so old and has so many learned so many abilities. Inferno could do a lot more, but usually you're just gonna see him use a sword, hacking and slashing really fast, and everything burns around him with the sword, and he'll maybe throw in a few punches here and there. But this is really important for your character designs because I see this a lot. If you, for example, think about like Brawlhalla, Dead by Daylight, maybe something like I don't know, Apex Legends. I'm not sure if that game has abilities because I don't play it. But for example, think of like a video game where you have maybe like Smash Bros, where you've got all these different characters, and they all have their own attacks, right? But sometimes you'll notice there's just that one dead character that no one really wants to play because it's like they do the same thing as another character but just worse. And the funny thing is, I actually have a character that I wanted to make a video about, but then I decided not to so far because I realized he's just a worse version of Inferno. But now I found, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I found a workaround for it because I like the character, so I'm still gonna make a video about it in the future. But now he's not just going to be a worse version of Inferno, pretty much. So yeah, it's just really important that for both the theme and the backstory of the character and the attacks that you have a sense of direction when you start on the character. You need to know like what's this guy's thing. So Inferno for the theme is like an almost like Chinese red and gold themed like ghost knight character, and made of fire. And then his main thing is like he's like a super fast, like one of the best swordsmen. I mean swordsman, and his sword, because it's on fire, sets things on fire and stuff. It's kind of like that. So pretty simple. You need a sense of direction for your character. So if you've got a character, and then you've got another character and then another character that all kind of do the same thing, but there's not really anything to differentiate it, then it's just gonna be a bad character. You have to remember, a character without direction is a bad character, okay? So, I want to think for a moment. Yeah, I actually have characters myself, like for example Night Eye and Night Shroud from the recent videos, that do similar things, but they still work because they're different and also because they're competition. So, Night Eye, for example, sneaks up on you and then stabs you with a knife, right? And he's like dead silent and he like crawls in little spaces and stuff. And then Night Shroud, he's just kind of silent, but you can spot him, and he quickly floats around the area. He swoops around, so you don't really see him. And then he unmasks his hood. If you could remember from the video, he turns into the big black ghost. That sounded wrong. The big black ghost, not the big black something else. He turns into big black ghost and eats you up. And then his whole thing is like that he chews you up. He maybe spits you out against the wall. So even though the attacks kind of result in the same thing, where it's just the person that gets attacked is just injured, the way that it happens and stuff is still like a bit different. Where one guy is like a sneaky stabber character, and the other is like a sneaky I'm going to eat you up character. So you can tell there's still kind of like something that differentiates them. But what is pretty interesting though is if you have a hero and a villain, such like how I have a lot of characters that are heroes and villains. It's actually interesting to here and there have like a hero character that almost does like the same thing as a villain character, and then have them a bit on the same level of strength. So then it's like kind of okay because they become competition. It's not, well, maybe for a video game, if you had playable characters, then maybe you would still need something different, because then both characters would be playable and it wouldn't really make a difference. But if you have like a TV show, like an animated show, like say Celestials was an animated show, and Inferno would have to face off against another swordsman villain that also uses fire or something, or in that sense, then suddenly it would become pretty interesting actually, because you'd have two people that do the same thing facing off against each other. So that is something that is actually okay. You can still have like villains and heroes that do the same thing as long as they compete against each other. But maybe in a video game that wouldn't work as well, but I still think it's okay. So I don't have much else to say, but if I had to think, yeah, you just need to make up your mind. You need to decide like one main thing that your character can do. But when I say one main thing, I don't mean like, don't think like an autistic person. When I say one main thing, I don't mean like one literal attack that they do. I mean like one very specific type of thing that they do. It's kind of hard to explain. So what I don't mean is just have a character, give them one weapon and give them one swoop attack or something. What I mean is, for example, Inferno isn't just a good swordsman. He's specifically the fast, ultra like strong swordsman that when he cuts things up in like hyper speed, it all turns, it all sets on fire because his sword is on fire. So when I say one main thing, I don't just mean, oh, just give Inferno a sword and say like, oh, he's the best swordsman. I mean like more specific. He's specifically a super fast swordsman because like he has like firearms and stuff, and kind of like Air Force, he can swing around really fast. And then his sword is on fire, so when he cuts things, it also sets on fire. So you want like something specific, basically. You want something that's like really that guy's thing. Then you're gonna want to maybe add in a secondary attack. For example, Inferno also has a shield that he can whip out at any time, just like a sword. That he can like teleport into his hands. So he can like make it appear out of thin air, and then maybe he could like, because he's so fast, he could like rocket. Because you can see he has like rocket boots, kind of. He could like rocket fly at people with a shield, and then he could like bash them in the face with it or something. So he could kind of like dash at them and then just boom. So you really need to make up your mind, and then if you really want to, you can add in some more attacks, because like Inferno, for example, can do a lot more. So to really give you an example, Inferno is a fast swordsman that can cut up things really well. He's like the best swordsman out there. He sets things on fire with his sword while he's cutting it. Then he maybe dashes at people, bashes them their head in with with a shield. So kind of like Wesker from Dead by Daylight, where you dash at someone and then you just bash them against the wall. And then he has even more attacks. He can like shoot fireballs. He can set things on fire a little bit with telekinesis, just like Fusker, but then weaker. So Fusker's main thing is more the telekinesis with fire, but it was mostly the fire blades, if you remember. Um, and for example, Inferno can also. This was, I think, a detail I forgot to mention in this video. Inferno, for example, can also channel three other elements a tiny bit because of the relationship he had with his wives throughout the years that also had these elements. So for example, Inferno has like an attack where a vine can come out of his arm and he can maybe like push someone against the wall with it. So you can see like Inferno is a complicated character. He has a lot of attacks, but then he has his main thing, which is like being a fast swordsman that cuts things on fire. And then he also has like a secondary attack. He dashes at people with his shield, for example. So you really need to make up your mind, I said. So I think, yeah, I already, now that I look at the time, it's already like 11 minutes. I wanted to stretch out the video a bit as well, but I actually generally had some things to still say. Oh yeah, and also if you'll notice, Inferno doesn't have a chain, unlike most characters I made. I forgot to add that in the first drawing. So after a while I might make a redesign video or whatever. But just know he's supposed to have a cool chain as well, just like the other characters. And it's supposed to be with like a little sword on it. Cause duh. And yeah, that's about it. I'm actually gonna go record another video after this for Halloween. Because on Halloween I'm not gonna be making a video. I'm gonna be chilling with my friends. Trick-or-treating and stuff. So, wait, what did I want to say? Yeah. So, you'll see this video now, but the video for next week will be like pre-recorded or whatever, but that's about it for the most part. So, yeah, see you in the next one. Bye, bitch.